Okay, so I guess this is recording. I can't really see my screen. So, I left my bag over here to stash it for a job interview so that way I don't look homeless. I don't know why I didn't remember to just leave it at my tent in the first place and just bring my smaller bag if anything. That would have been the better plan. Oh yeah, because this lady said she was gonna let me leave my bag in her trunk. But all that's kind of irrelevant because at the end of the day, once I start working, I would have to I'd have to. I'm trying to remember what I'm even talking about. I'd have to stash it somewhere, or just not bring it in the first place anyway. So it's better for me to just get used to either like finding a way to get the stuff that I do need to bring in a smaller bag, or just not bring it in the first place. And there's a lot that I could say about that. And it's still here, luckily. I kind of was having a little panic attack about leaving it somewhere and it hopefully still being there when I get back. But then I also have to remember that one of the things about it is people aren't really all that hyper vigilant, even if they should be. So most people aren't even paying enough attention to their surroundings to the point where even if somebody was sitting right there, they probably wouldn't even see this right here. And then being in an area with a lower homeless population, there's just less people hanging around trying to find something to do. And so it's kind of like with sleeping spots. You're not having to worry about competing with 30 other people for a sleeping spot, or possibly being in a spot that's already claimed by somebody, and then you're woken up by somebody talking junk to you about how that's their spot at 3 a.m. So, yeah, but having a stash spot is a good thing, though. And apparently, my first shift is Monday, but it starts at 8 a.m. So, I'm not going to be able to eat breakfast. And that's the thing. If I didn't have the health issues that I have, that I, of course, have to pretend that I don't have, stuff like that wouldn't be an issue. But since I have health issues where, my body's already functioning on low, and I'm always, falling asleep and stuff, I have to eat certain stuff. At least I have to try to not eat high carb. That's the main thing. And pretty much I just have to eat as much as possible to keep my blood sugar from dropping to 50 all day, which at some points it does anyways. And that can be worse if it's really hot or really cold or whatever. I really need to go to CVS, but I don't feel like doing that. Oh yeah, then I was kind of panicky about if I ended up walking here and getting here late due to walking here. And the interview lady, we agreed on 11, but she didn't show up till a few minutes ago, and it's 12:29, and I came at 10:30, but I didn't go inside till 10:50 or 10:40 because I was panicking about where I was gonna put my stuff. So there's that. So hopefully this recording will actually work. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time now, and I feel like, okay, wait a minute, this is probably going to be multiple videos in one, which I can do now since I've just been using the library computers to edit everything together anyways, and my phone, which definitely wouldn't work on this phone anyways. So actually, I'm going to talk about one thing I've wanted to say for a while, which is pretty much I have a short amount of time to become rich, or I'm going to die, or, well, and I'm gonna become like a prisoner slave pretty much with no pay. And the funny thing is, I had already been thinking for not a long time, for a hot minute, that I either need to become rich or I'm gonna die. And that revolved around a couple things, just with the situations, falling into the false self and becoming more demonized and becoming a schizonarch full blown, that risk. And also just the fact that like I have serious wait a minute. Is this an ant? Okay. I have serious chronic illness that really shouldn't have been allowed to get to the point that it has gotten to. But the thing about it is that it's not something that's talked about or even like cured in the mainstream medical system anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Because even if I wouldn't have went through all the medical gaslighting, they wouldn't have done anything. And then there's still the fact that 99% of my issues are iatrogenic anyway, so if it wasn't for doctors, I wouldn't have them. But I'm not going to really go too deep into that because I talk about all that stuff in my playlist titled How to Know If You Have Mitochondrial Dysfunction. There may be a lot of videos in that playlist that aren't mine, but I try to remove them and add them to my other playlist, which I have a couple that are just like different videos that I feel people should watch if they're trying to like piece things together with their health issues or whatever. But anywho, point is, as I've said, I've circled back to the conclusion that intravenous vitamin and mineral therapy is what would actually help me. And that's not a new thing. Like, pretty much there's been times that I've been piecing things together with my health where I've like thought something, but then especially during being with my abusers, especially, I would get a lot of gaslighting about my health issues. So I'd be like, I feel like I really need this, but then I would get gaslit a lot. And so pretty much, even since running away, I've just circled back to like the main original conclusions and things that I pretty much was already told that I would have from the iatrogenic effects. And something that I thought before was since especially 15, because that's when I really got sick. But I mean, honestly, even really 12, really when I was given the anticholinergic side effects and they turned up the neurotransmitters that made my bowels work, I really should have got a colonoscopy and endoscopy then just to see how much structural damage was caused from that. But then I really started to get sick by 15 after dropping down to 80 pounds at 14, losing the metabolic syndrome weight and going back to the weight that I probably would have originally been if I would have never been forced on the neurotoxin drugs anyways. And so 15 is when I really should have got at least a colonoscopy because it's really hard to get. I mean, no, at least an endoscopy because it's about impossible to get a colonoscopy under 50, which means I would be extremely dead by the time I would be able to get one, unless you can pay for it. And then there was something else with that. Oh yeah, and then I also felt like aside from the endoscopy, I really just needed like to be like tube fed because I was always being told the whole "we just feel like you're being starved at home" thing. But really, it's a deeper, more long. Wait a minute, it's a deeper, more long term like nutrient deficiency and like malnutrition thing than even just the whole starvation abuse at 14 plus. It actually like with the records that I'm seeing, as I have in the thumbnail of my most recent video about piecing together my health issues titled Conclusion Intravenous Vitamin Therapy or something. As it says in that thumbnail, I was having low body temperature, low and high blood pressure since 7, and I'm sure even before that, but I know specifically since 7 based on medical records. And that doesn't surprise me either. And also low blood sugar. I was having low blood sugar way before I even got the metabolic issues from the iatrogenic effects of the neurotoxin drugs, which I mean, the metabolic syndrome will gives you insulin resistance and serotonin syndrome and et cetera, et cetera. So that gives you tachycardia, so like high blood pressure, high blood sugar anyways. I mean, of course, if you have high blood sugar, you're gonna like eventually crash and have hypoglycemia. But point is, I was having hypoglycemia years before the medical injury. That started at mid 12 to late 13 more so, kind of early 14. And so yeah, I'm back at the conclusion that if I couldn't get anything else, I need to scrape up money to get intravenous vitamin and mineral therapy. But then also the side thing, which goes into the current situation with the whole I need to become rich or I'm gonna die thing. So the current situation is that just like what I escaped, just like the reason I escaped Cali or left Cali because of laws getting worse against homelessness, um, pretty much ICE and the National Guard's gonna get sent out here just like they were a little while back in Washington and LA, really all around the bordering states in the South from really what's that, Florida all the way to San Diego and up to LA. It's been happening, but where I'm at now, the National Guard and ICE is going to be sent out soon. They're going to be doing the thing where they scrape up homeless people, throw them in white vans, and they unalive you. Which the thing is, I know they're gonna kill us in like some crazy ways. That's the thing. I technically really wanted to die since well before even age 10, but it's like there's also this thing that I constantly talk about. I don't want to die before my time, but then also it's like the way life really goes is typically really, really screwed up. Crap, even that scary situation that other street kid is in that I made that post about, the Nova girl, which even somewhat makes me think about the other Nova situation with the Tania thing, but that's kind of relevant. But both of those street kid situations are really screwed up, but I think about especially with the one that I posted about the other day. I do not know what I was about to say. But either way, the situations are just... Oh, yeah, I remember now. Okay, so it makes me think about this comment that I seen on IG like some weeks ago, where this dude was responding to some post, don't remember what it even said, and he was like, you can't change fate. If life starts out crappy, it typically stays that way. I really don't like that, but it does seem like, unfortunately, that's how things typically go for most people. And one of the big things with that is that, one, the spiritual side, but then also just with the physical side, and like how when you don't have parents and family, you don't have like any support, you don't have anybody to raise you or teach you anything, and you just constantly end up in a lot of bad situations, being taken advantage of and screwed over and over again. And it's like, it's really unfortunate, and the people that happens to are typically really nice. And for me personally, I don't know if I would consider myself nice, but I'm thinking about other people here. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it makes me think back to how people are always bringing up the religious scriptures that nobody's reading, obviously, which makes sense since the Protestant and the pagan Roman Catholic Church are always telling people not to read the Bible. But it makes me think about how people are always told to take care of the orphan, the widow, the fatherless, the needy, and the poor, and the foreigner, and none of that ever happens. And that's why you have Ramco MK Ultra systems, such as the cash for kids system and the human cash cow system, set up to constantly take advantage of people and keep them in these never-ending cycles. And then you also have these side predatory people that play a role in that, from pimps to whatever else you could think of, I guess. Crap, even elder trafficking, which is definitely a part of the human cash cow systems, and is also tied to the homeless industrial complex, which is tied to the cash for kids system and the human cash cow systems. Not to mention the institutionalization sets people up to end up homeless, but that's kind of a long, irrelevant topic. But it's just like, the situation is really screwed up. And anyhow, I'm trying to think about what point I was getting at with that. I don't even know, but going back to the National Guard thing. So, I'm either going to get killed, but I don't want to die before my time because then I don't get to possibly help anybody or save myself. And then, like, it's like you just end up forgotten, and then it's kind of like your abusers, like your parents and your the cash for kids system and human cash cow system staff and all the random people that laugh at you and call you broke and stuff. It's like you can't. It's like more often than not, people really don't get to meet their full potential and get what they really deserve, and like they end up in these cycles, especially like what I talked about in my part 1 and part 2. Let Me Help You Lunatic, whatever the title is. It was hard for me to find the part 2, but I finally found it because I needed to link it in one of my recent uploads. Pretty much the video that I always refer to as the Miss S and J situation. I'll put it in the description if I remember, but stuff like that. How that lady's just stuck in these cycles. And it really scares me because, one, I mean, with the health issues I have, if I can't cure them, I'm not going to be alive too much longer anyways. I should have died like years ago from them, especially well before I ran away. Because one, I was really malnourished, at least supposedly, because I couldn't digest food anyways. And I've been like taking HCl and enzymes since I found out about that. And since every day since August 8th, 2024, pretty much. I did run out for a couple of days, like in the recent 3 or 4 days, which is really risky, and it was pretty painful, more so in the beginning. But it's like, I mean, I can't take that for like for the rest of my life, and still I'm not absorbing stuff on a cellular level, which is why I've still been severely underweight and having all types of issues. Wait a minute. I hear like a beetle or something flying around, but I don't know where it's at. But anywho, what was I saying with that? Crap. Oh yeah, so get killed or go to like work on this slave camp, which the prisons and stuff are already known for. And as I've talked about throughout the years, I've noticed that like a lot of people, like a lot of kicked out kids and runaways, and which includes dumped out people / foster kids, because being in CPS custody is in and of itself being homeless and trafficked. And then of course older homeless people. Like a lot of us end up in labor trafficking as is. That's not even talked about. Like street kids have to like work on these farms, or homeless people in general. The same ones that the immigrants work on a lot of the time. And they're like taking advantage of the weed trimming in Cali and Washington and stuff like that that's not even talked about or really known about. Which goes into the whole collapse that's about to happen. Because the funny thing about it is that same thing with the whole taking out and sending back the immigrants, and now what's happening, or what's been happening with the homeless actually, because I started taking out the homeless people before they even started going after the immigrants. What people don't realize is that they're actually taking out the people that are working the farms, that are actually making the produce, and we were already in a food shortage since really 2020. That's been getting worse. And I mean, of course it spiked up. Then there's the tariff thing, the Hormuz Strait thing that people were talking about. I only know a little bit about that, but that whole thing, taking out the farm workers, inflation. Oh yeah, the strike that the what are they called? The people. Wait a minute. The people that do maritime work, the storage, shipment, container, boat people, those people, the strikes that they were going on for years now, a few years now, because they were tired of trafficking people and hearing kids and men and women screaming in the containers, asking them to let them out because they were being told they were like transporting produce and stuff like that, but they were really trafficking people. They didn't open the containers, but they just said that they were tired of that. People didn't really talk about that when that was going on, when the maritime workers were all going on strike because of that, and also because of low pay. they also felt like they weren't getting paid enough to be doing human trafficking, which is, there's a lot I can say about that. Then whenever the Cali earthquake tsunami thing happens, all that is gonna like contribute to the really, really bad food shortage. Not to mention the war stuff, the on-soil civil wars, and then the external wars, I guess I could call it. So much is about to go down, which also goes into the whole thing that I've been saying, which is that when things really start to hit the fan, I don't want to still be chronically ill. If I'm still going to be alive, I don't want to still be chronically ill. I don't want to still be passing out every couple of hours and having blood sugars at 50, not able to digest food, severely weakened and scrawny and all that stuff. I really want to be like in a good condition by the time things really hit the fan, but it's like there's not really a lot of time left for that. It's like I really wish I would have been able to be in a more stable position, and even maybe I could say mindset as well, because it's like when you're laying low, you're focused on laying low and you can't really do anything till 18. But then it's still like even after that, it's kind of like I just was still focused on having to constantly run from cops and not having like anywhere to really stash my stuff, being too hot or too cold, which is still a thing here, especially the too hot because it's even really hot at night. And so I'm trying to think of what I was gonna say with that. Oh yeah, so my time is ticking down, and like even well before, wait a minute, even well before running away, I always had like these points in time where I was like, if I don't figure this, and that out by this point in time, I'm gonna have to KMS, or I'm just gonna die from whatever else. But I definitely still like have a lot of those feelings, but not necessarily for the same reasons to a certain extent. I mean, not having any help and not having anybody that gives a crap about you is still like always gonna be the big issue. But for a lot of people that were kind of born in a bull crap, but pretty much I've been telling myself 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna have to leave. I'm gonna have to go north. I'm gonna have to die, whatever. But I feel like now, especially due to a lot of things, I have to keep this deadline. But I don't know what I'm gonna do or how. And I've just been having so many realizations recently. And as I always say, it always stacks on top of things that I've always already known, especially going back to the whole nobody gives a crap about anybody thing. A lot of things stem back to that, but I'm not going to go into that because I have so many videos about that in my playlist titled quote unquote there's help out there model / nobody gives a crap about anybody, you have to save yourself, because I added that part on a few weeks ago. Also, I wanted to go over some quotes of bullcrap that I've had said to me. So, Tuesday, a lady had said, you're blessed and somebody's gonna help you eventually, don't worry. I don't like to think like that, because literally, one of the reasons that you have to run away or just accept being kicked out or whatever your situation was is because nobody gives a crap about anybody. That doesn't mean people aren't gonna do things to help you. I mean, obviously, like, people have, like, fed me and stuff throughout the years. Even before I ran away, I would have to, like, ask people for food and stuff. Although, I try to not ask now, because it's, like, it just seems different when people know that you're, like, homeless. And there's a lot of stuff with that I'm not going to go into anyways, but it's, like, I'm not trying to say that nobody's ever done anything for me, obviously. But, I mean, like I've said before, one of the things that I've noticed is that society is about breadcrumbing. Like, in 2020, when I was like coming out of the gaslighting and I found out the actual like clinical terms and more of the spiritual terms for my abuse, I would binge watch Dr. Omni videos back then. And Dr. Omni has videos about narcissistic breadcrumbing. Now, I don't like the bullcrap psych label stuff, but we're all really Jezebelic, and breadcrumbing is really a big thing in society. Like, I know that there's this one person that said that the systems give you just enough to survive, but I was like, the systems give you just enough to I don't even want to say the systems, because like I think about like the Ramco human cash cow systems, but I don't even want to say that. I want to say society and people. They give you just enough to die slowly and suffer, and maybe not even know you're suffering if you have cognitive dissonance and Stockholm syndrome. And it was something else I wanted to say with that. As I always say, like everything is kind of like that. I can't remember the name of it, but the WW2 quote that starts off with it's a lot of propaganda with it, but it starts off with uh crap. What is it? It's about the cost. It was something like they came for. That's pretty much what it's titled. Like if you search WW2 poem they came for by, it was some priest that made it. It'll pop up, but I can't remember exactly what it's called or the dude's name. But pretty much they came from the poor, but I didn't do anything because I wasn't poor, and it keeps going. And as I always say, it's just like the narcissistic prayer. I didn't do that, and if I did, it wasn't that bad, and if it wasn't my fault, and it keeps going. The Lucifer effect, flying monkeys enablers, the bystander effect. That's how society works, and it's all a cult, and it's all a game. And as I've said before, the only way to not be essayed, well, I mean, honestly, if you sell out and you're like in one of these organizations where you have to bend over and you have to get turned out starting in infancy, unfortunately, like this doesn't apply to you. But if you're born in, I mean, you don't have control over it. But making it to the top without selling out, that's what I'm talking about, not the other stuff. The only way to not be taken advantage of constantly and hurt, at least not horrendously, and to not be seen as a vulnerable bum to make jokes about or to essay or to traffic, is to get above most people. But it's like, the thing is getting above most people without joining some Freemason slash religious organization and not having to do a bunch of extra stuff. And it makes me think about something that this one Chomo sex prayer guy said to me a little while ago. Which generally he was saying, the reason I'm still in the same position that I'm in is because I'm not willing to like get essayed by people. And honestly, he's not wrong. Like I've been in like these online support groups where people who were foster kids or runaways or kicked out or whatever, they talk about like having to become a prostitute at like 14 or whatever, become an escort and stuff like that, and how these are white women though, so it's still kind of like, I don't know how much of this applies to me, but how they're able to become rich or get in the middle class and live in nice neighborhoods off of that, and live a normal life and get married as if they never had to do the stuff they had to do before. And it's like, to really, nobody's going to take care of you but you, so you really have to take risks to get where you want. But it's like, I don't like the spiritual or physical ramifications of any of that stuff though, and I don't want to have to do that, and I don't want to have to like have sex with people. And then it's like something that I've said since I was like 8 or 9. It's like I can never get with the people that I want to get with, and it's like now nobody wants to get with me with people that are 45 to 80, and it's like, it's just annoying. And it's funny though, because it's like, I think having multiple personalities and then the hypersexuality plays a big role in it. Well, it does, but it's like, I kind of wanted to make a video in general about how to know if you're really like a pervert or like a sexually predatory, or if you're just too honest about your emotions. And attachment issues and BPD limits can also play into it. But that can be a whole nother video, so I probably shouldn't go too deep into that because it'll be like kind of irrelevant. But it's like, I just can never get with the people that I want to get with, even if they like talk to me first and it seems like they like me first. Like after a while, it's kind of like And it seems like if I really did want to date somebody, the only person that would ever date me is like some 60-year-old, and that's typically how it goes, anyways. Which I talk about that in my hypothetically paraphilia and dronophile agenda playlist, I think it's called Dronophiles Are Annoying / Dronophile Agenda. I talk about how people in certain situations, kids in certain situations are just like ones who were typically still abused and neglected, but also are smarter than the average person, but then also developmentally delayed will often get with like chomos who are also smart and developmentally delayed, or just predatory people, because they're not really allowed around people their age who do different stuff with their situation, or they just don't fit in and they get bullied by them. And I think one of the videos has a thumbnail of a message where this girl was pretty much like people my age bullied me, so I got online and started talking to pedos. But that's not really what happened though. It kind of reminds me of the whole Nova Tania situation. Generally, the girl really was dating this girl, which goes into something I mentioned in my hypothetically pair playlist, how girls that identify as supposed lesbians are typically always dating chomo dudes, which goes back to the trauma that originally turned them out anyways. But anywho, she was dating this girl when she was 11 to 12 or whatever, and the girl had introduced her to, I guess I could call the quote-unquote lifestyle and an addiction and cycle of talking to chomos, but the girl herself got out of it. The girl who introduced her into it got out of it after a certain age, but this other girl never has. But it also goes into how like her abuse and neglect situation has continued as it is, which is why you have to talk to these people in the first place, which reminds me of something I didn't finish saying a while back. In my video titled Nobody Gives a Crap About Anybody, where the thumbnail is Tizandos doing an interview. In that video, I show this one comment from this guy who's like, everybody's being used unless you're useless. And honestly, he's not wrong. And it makes me think back to this comment that's a thumbnail of one video, I think, in my hypothetically paraphilia playlist. And also, I think it's the videos in my Dronophile Agenda playlist, where this dude was like, everybody is just the asset in somebody's fantasy or something like that. And it was the videos that I made in series about a comment section where like pretty much guys were like 28 isn't young, that's the danger zone. To find a woman who's teachable, you gotta go way younger than 28. You gotta go maybe even under 26. And yeah, so those videos. And I'm trying to think about what else to say with that. Oh yeah, so going back to the job thing though, which I guess I may put that video in the beginning of this one. So, something that I mentioned before, probably back when I was still in Cali, but I don't even remember, at least maybe last year or something like that. Homelessness is a family issue. This is something I've always seen since I watched documentaries since 7 about street kids and mole people and stuff like that. So it's a family issue. It doesn't have anything to do with really stuff that people try to make it about. I mean, it can, like the money stuff ties into it, but generally you become homeless as a kid, then you get stuck. And overall, regardless of your age, it's about not having family and the issues of an individualistic society. And people have to escape dangerous family systems or getting kicked out. And so, anywho, I'm saying all that to say, I mentioned before that there's a lot of issues when it comes to like getting a job. Like, okay, so before running away, I was in a typical infantilization abuse situation, like entrapment, I guess I could say, where I wasn't allowed to work. And then like I even had this one video. It's still like on maybe the part 5 channel, where my relatives like talking about how they were going to tell my job that I was a psychopath or something like that, and get me fired. But eventually my mom stopped letting me go anyways. And then it's like, oh yeah, she stopped letting me go because eventually she did let me get a job for a couple of days, but she got mad at me because of something. And then she said that I couldn't go anymore, but she didn't want me to. Oh no, actually, no. What actually really happened was that she didn't want to say it out loud until a hot minute later. She was worried that if I was working a job, that my disability check that she got would get turned off, and so she didn't want me to work. That's what it really was. But also, she didn't want me to work because they didn't want me to gain the skills I needed to be able to escape them. But that was kind of relevant anyways because I was so chronically ill. and I was so hungry all the time and dissociating and falling asleep and stuff that it really wasn't really working anyhow. The people always like to abuse their kids and stuff, and it's kind of like there was this one lady that I really wanted to fight, even though I know my health isn't up to par for it. And it's like, honestly, I'm not really gonna go into that, but I know that I probably will end up going to jail one day for having to fight an abuser, whether it's like a public or a private place, and it doesn't even really matter. That's what should be happening. And it's like just being in public is generally hard due to that, and it makes me. And it's like when you confront the people, as I mentioned in another video, when you confront the people, they run from you. The quote unquote grown ups that they love to beat on like their own kids, but they won't fight me though. And then it's also another thing with it that I wanted to say, but I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember what it was, but generally I was too sick, and it's like, oh no, I was saying that, as I said before in another video, I'm always glad that I ran away though, because it's like seeing other people situations who live with their parents and their cognitive distance or just having to put up with essay and all types of stuff. Even though people can talk junk about me and say that I'm broke and I'm a bum, or they can make jokes about me and say that my parents don't care about me, honestly, I'd rather die out here than die trapped in an abuse situation. And I'm glad that I don't have older people over me controlling me and abusing me like everybody else seems to have. So yeah. Anywho, was the other thing I was gonna say with that? Oh yeah, but to get to the point, transportation issues. So one thing when it comes to being homeless, especially, is especially if you're in a place where like I'm in now, where the bus doesn't run on Sunday, and when I first came here, it didn't run past 5 p.m. Now it runs till kind of 8:30, but really 7, to be honest. And so working in, oh yeah, and then it's really unpredictable. They're overworked and underpaid, and so this one lady said, after they go around 3 times, their brain turns to mush. And so something that people in the town experience on a daily basis is the bus drivers just being so zoned out they don't even stop. This one lady was even screaming one night, and she was like, the bus driver saw all of us standing out here, looked all of us in the eyes, and kept right on going and didn't even stop. And that's something else I noticed. Aside from the Jezebelic schizonarch thing, there's also the fact that it seems like they act as though they can't still stop after looking you in the eyes, and they have to keep going, and it's too late to stop or something. And sometimes I guess they feel like you won't catch up if they did stop, but I feel like they're still really screwed up. So yeah, the buses are really unpredictable. Even this morning, I was waiting on the bus at 7, and I was trying to go get breakfast, and it went right past me. And so I went across the street to get on the other bus in the other direction. And luckily they came not too long later. But I just really, stuff like that is really unfortunate, because it's already really hot and really cold for anybody at certain points of the year. And where I'm at now, it's generally always hot, even at night. I swear it's 100 degrees at night. But if you also have health issues like I do, where you can't really take the heat or the cold, it makes it worse, because then it's I start falling asleep, or my blood sugar starts to drop, and just different weird dysautonomia stuff. And then it's once I have these weird autonomic fallouts, I guess I could call it, even with the postprandial hypotension, I think it's called, where I can fall asleep right after eating certain things, especially high carb. It's it's not regular sleep, of course. And so, especially with the postprandial hypotension, it's when I do wake up from that, I'm really disoriented, and my vision may be blurry, and I can't really tell what's going on. I've literally lost stuff behind that. But anywho, point is, public transportation can be an issue. And then it's jobs want you to have reliable transportation. But then also, if I have to go to work at 6, because the place that I applied at, I actually been trying to get a job there since last year, because when I was stuck in one spot before the whole Chomo Shane situation, the police thing happened, crap, and my leg is cramping. Before that whole thing, I know there was this one guy, and he kept telling me he was going to help me get a job there, and that he was going to like get the dude that drives him to work to drive me to work, and he just kept playing games for a very long time. But that's not even really the point. The point is that the point was that I don't remember what the point was actually, but generally if you have to get if I had to get there at 6 a.m., I wouldn't be able to get there at 6 a.m. riding the bus. I don't even think the bus starts running that early, but if it does, it's unreliable, and that just wouldn't work out. And so something else with that was the other thing. Oh yeah, and then if I have to leave later than really 6 to 7, I'm really at risk of missing the last bus. And so the thing with that is that I need more mosquito spray for one, but then it's also like I wouldn't be able to bring my sleeping bag and mat the same way I wouldn't be able to bring the bag that I usually carry. And I would really rather not bring a bag at all, but that's not really going to be possible. So I'm just bringing like a drawstring, I guess. But the bad thing about it is that the supplements, the HCl and the enzymes, like I would have to bring that, which I would also have to figure out what I'm going to eat while I'm there the whole time, so like I'm not falling asleep too much. Now I would also have to make sure I eat certain stuff, because I have to do my all to make sure my blood sugar isn't at 50, or else I'm just not going to be able to work, and that's not going to work out. And then also another thing is that, like the glucogenesis, I guess it's called, whatever in the world, the liver issues, to summarize, and the blood sugar stuff. It's like if I do get weak, or if I do start running out of energy, I am gonna be pretty weak, and it's just gonna be like that whole thing like when I was in New York, my blood sugar was at 50 every day because of stuff when you not. Wait a minute, stuff would be extremely cold. It was below freezing, and then two stuff with the food, and it was like since my blood sugar was so low, I couldn't even like press the start button on the washing machine. And I'm already really weak in general since getting sick. Like, I already can barely do jack, but if my blood sugar's low, it makes it worse. And then it was, dang, this is the big spider. Crap. Okay, I think I killed it. Okay, so then, going back to the sleeping bag and mat thing. I never finished that sentence, I don't think. So, if I miss the bus back to where I usually sleep at, one, that could cause a lot of issues if it rains. Although I do know a spot by there, but it's like, it's kind of iffy. They do have cameras there. I know I used to sleep there sometimes last year. It's a lot of mosquitoes, so it's a lot of grass as well. But it's like the staff start coming in at 5. There's just a lot of stuff with that. But I mean, it's just like I wouldn't be able to bring my sleeping bag and mat though. That's the thing, because then they would see it. I would have to find somewhere to stash that in the area and hope that nobody notices. Because like one of the things with it is that like somebody taking it isn't even really the issue. One of the issues with things like that, as I actually had happened before in that area, back when I was trying to do that welding job that I really shouldn't have been doing due to a lot of stuff, especially with health stuff, I'm not even going to go back into that embarrassing story actually. But anywho, white people claiming that like you're doing something suspicious and then calling the police. Oh, that's not really what happened with that last situation. Actually, they called the police on me for walking down the street, but I also had to go get my bag that I had stashed, or my sleeping bag and mat, because I didn't like want to bring it with me to the welding thing for obvious reasons, and so there was that. But then having to sleep then due to the bus thing early in the morning, if you can't ride the bus to work, that means you have to sleep outside of there the night before. And then also, since my first shift is Monday, that's the day where I shower, which is why I typically try to not. I always try to like say I can't work Mondays if I do apply for a job. But one of the things about this job though is that it's not really like a reliable work schedule type thing, anyways. It's kind of like you work when they have something available because of like the type of job it is, which actually I feel like can be better, but I also feel like it kind of makes it more unpredictable because I feel like, I mean, it's just going to be, they're going to call me and tell me, yeah, we didn't tell you like even a couple days prior, but we have something today. I hope it wouldn't be like that. But yeah, so anywho, that means that I'm not going to be able to shower. And I didn't want to say I can't work on Monday because, like, I feel like, especially like having to decline your first shift just is like really bad. And it just says that you're unavailable and that you have stuff going on and you're not serious. And then it's like I already have to make up these lies about having like at least like a grandma or something that I stay with that'll take me to work and pick me up. And it's like, it was even hard. It's hard to keep lies like that going though. I mean, crap, even with the whole, the dishwasher thing I was doing those few weeks ago, I don't even think I actually talked about that horrendous situation. It didn't go exactly how I expected it though. I expected to like get sexually harassed really bad just because of like the things that the guys are always doing to the other staff and the things that they've said to me even before I've really talked to them. Like I know one dude, he had said something when I was walking down the street one day, but actually something worse ended up happening than even what I expected. And it wasn't even from those guys. It was from like this other dude that works there who's pretty scary. So I mean, I'm not scared of anybody, but I know that, like, by some people's standards, he would be considered scary. But I don't know, people consider me scary, so yeah. But that was just really bad. But I'm not gonna go into that. Anyhow, what I was saying is that even like somehow they did know I was homeless, which I feel is really funny because I sleep beside there when it rains. Because I stopped walking to the this other spot that I used to go to. It's not even far at all, but it just was too far for me because of like health stuff and then carrying like my bags and stuff. But I do think that they do notice me, even though they may not like. I don't know. Like generally, even without them knowing that I was homeless, they could tell I was in like a bad situation, and that caused like I'm trying to kill something. It caused like enough issues, so that was enough. And then it's like I was getting paid under the table. Apparently, they had me thinking that they were actually like hiring me and putting me on the payroll, but actually they weren't. So there was that, but I only ever end up actually getting paid when I work like under the table. Not that I've really been able to get many under the table jobs either, but working over the table two times that has happened throughout my life, it was actually the most scammy. So I'm trying to think about what else with that. So yeah, if I have to go early in the morning, I have to try to find a place to sleep outside there at night, which also means that I would have to find a place to stash my sleeping bag and mat somewhere where they won't see it, so they don't know my situation, and for a lot of other reasons as well. Same thing as if I have to work so late that I can't catch the bus back to my spot, and that would cause issues. And then one of the things about it is that when you're claiming you have reliable transportation, and that you have this grandma emergency contact, and this mom or dad, whatever lie, um, eventually it becomes obvious that like you have stuff going on, and there's like plenty of other people that work there are homeless, but it's like it just seemed different when you're a quote unquote kid, I guess, whatever that really means. But I don't really know how to keep up the lies. But it's so weird though, because it's like the other people that work there, they don't have like a car, but they just pretty much people just have to lie. Crap, even this one other lady, she rides the bus, but it's just about being able to actually keep up the lie. And then it's like, I can't shower on Monday because I have to go there. So it's like, I'm probably going to be really sweaty and all types of stuff by the time I go. But it's like, I'd have to hope that I don't have to work the Monday after that, because then, but I don't know. Moral of the story is that generally I'm just trying to scrape up money some way, somehow, for intravenous vitamin therapy, but like, I want to start as soon as possible. I just wish like I would have been in a more stable situation a long time ago to really think about stuff like that more, but I guess it's whatever. I don't really know if there's anything else I have to say with that. Okay, crap. So, I forgot the rest of the quotes, and I wrote them down in my notebook. So, this is the other recent quotes of bullcrap that have been said to me. 7 something. So, this was like about 2 weeks ago. Quote unquote, a blessing is coming to your way. God told me to tell you that. Now, that all sounds great, although the ineffable name doctrine is iffy. But like I've been saying for a while now, I don't want to fall into magical thinking. I don't want to, like, pretty much like, as I've said since I was 6, if you want something done, as I said since I was 6, if you want something done, and all you got to do it yourself. So, I don't want to fall into magical thinking and get into all these, like, maladaptive daydreams and OCD, almost schizo spectrum type stuff. I do want to focus on things that, like, I don't know, like, I don't really like all the hope stuff anymore. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to get at. I don't really know how else to explain it. If something's gonna happen, I would have to do it, and that's how I'd rather think first before anything else. And then it's like, then hearing stuff like that coming from, like, the sexual predators, it just makes it even more iffy because it's coming from Marine Kingdom agents, so it's like, what's the blessing? A pimp? 716, I think I already said this one. Quote unquote, someone will help you eventually. So pretty much the lady said, something, don't be scared, something, you're blessed, and God's got you, and somebody's gonna help you eventually. I don't want to think like that anymore. Like I said already, you're out here because you had to accept the fact that nobody's gonna save you. You had to run away and save yourself, while still having people calling the police on you and trying to get you sent back to your abuse situation. And I even re-uploaded a couple videos from 2021 and 2022 where I'm even mentioning in those videos I need to stop waiting on a hero. But it's like, I think that, no, not I think, as I said before a lot recently, we're still kind of made to feel like once we get out of the situation, eventually some hero, adoptive parent, savior is going to come. And for most people that doesn't happen. Like, I know this one girl who's often telling me about her brother who, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was something like he had this friend in high school, rich parents, they ended up taking him in, and when he got kicked out, luckily, like, his parents, or their parents, didn't, their abusive parents, the girl's abusive parents and her brother's abusive parents, didn't, like, keep the friend's parents from being able to take him in, and the friend's parents were actually willing to take him in. And people that end up in situations like that, they often don't realize how lucky they got, and they'll, like, try to act all prideful and stuff and be like, all you gotta do is ask for help. They typically never get that. Most people don't get quote unquote help because there is none. But anywho, main point is, stuff like that is typically in fairy tales. As I've been saying a lot of people think they want to go into CPS custody because they think it's an adoption agency, which adoption agencies are trafficking agencies anyways. CPS is trafficking, but it's also being homeless, and they don't have anywhere to put you. People think they're going to be like the quote-unquote Black Annie from 2014, and that they're going to get adopted by these rich people who also just happen to be nice. That stuff isn't really real life. And if it does happen, you got lucky. And I don't want to think like that, and I don't want to be sitting around waiting for somebody. I don't want to be running around looking for some actually schizophrenic delusion, which I'm not going to go into all of that, but I just don't really like the magical thinking, and I don't want to be having any more maladaptive daydreams about some mom that doesn't exist and all that stuff. It's really not even healthy anyways. In 714, quote unquote, go home to your family, which was said to me the other day by this one staff at the shelter when I went there to ask for a face mask or something. I can't really remember. Oh yeah, and then another quote: you can't sell stuff here. And then I was like, oh no, okay. So I was at this one resource center, and I was asking people to buy my book on online, and then one of the staff was like, you can't sell stuff here, and I was like, well, read my book online. And then she was like, you're smart, and I know you're smarter than that, and asking people to read your book is still asking people to buy it. First of all, lady, why do you think that I'm about to sit here and be broke and come here to get sexually harassed and assaulted by grown men while you while you guys get you get government money and then you get paid or whatever, or at least the organization gets money from the government, and you think I'm about to sit here and be broke while being surrounded by people that may possibly buy my book. In fact, I actually got this one lady at the resource center to buy my book last week, and I was surprised because I guess she just never heard me talk about it, but I've been trying to get people to buy my books since last year at least. Some of them might have been before I started. No, that definitely was before I knew about that resource center. My first book that I officially really released with print on demand. But I was actually surprised because I've been trying to get people to buy it and I couldn't. And a lot of people said that they don't read and all that stuff. And it's like you act like I'm asking people to buy like crack or something. And it's like, why is it not okay for me to get people to buy my book? It's not like I can really scam them with it or whatever, but people can like come try to force me into these like essay situations at the resource center while you guys just like stand back and watch. In fact, I know like they have college kids and high school seniors and high schoolers come there to volunteer. Well, not really volunteer. Well, I mean, no, some of them do come to volunteer, especially for like the dinner night. But I know like during before summer break, they had some high school kids come, and it's like it just reminded me of how I'm gonna be single the rest of my life. But anyhow, I feel like I get the point of like getting people to see the volunteer work that they could go into and like different people's situations, but as much as I get sexually harassed and touched all over, I feel like it wasn't the best idea, but I do get it because like the people that do stuff to me aren't gonna do stuff to them because they know that like the teacher's there and that they may tell somebody. But like I said before, which I may make a video about, like I was telling this one girl, she like goes to the art events and stuff downtown sometimes, and she was telling me about how like she stopped going after these quote unquote homeless guys were sexually harassing her and stuff, and so she got scared pretty much. And I was like, honestly, I know who you're talking about, and most, if not all, those people aren't even really homeless. They're just always outside looking for victims. But a lot of people do like hang out in quote unquote homeless seaman communities because like just being lonely. But most of the people, especially where I'm at now, as I talk about all the time, they're like pimps and stuff looking for victims, to be honest. And so anywho, I told her that like you shouldn't not tell your parents because you feel bad, because the thing is, these people do stuff to a lot of people, young and old, each other. And the thing is, the people that they do stuff to, most of them don't have anybody to tell. You have parents to tell, and then they may be able to scare the police into pretending that they actually care and that they don't work with the sexual predators too, and like get some of them locked up. I mean, these are the same dudes that, as I talked about before, they were like going on that rant that one day about how some 14-year-old was coming out there and she was dating two or more of the dudes, and it's like you couldn't pay me to date any of them. And then it's like, not only are they old and scary looking, most of them really, but they also don't shower either. And that's like a big thing with the guys for some reason. Well, not for some reason. I honestly could get why. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it in plenty of videos since the Abuse Evidence channels how, like, boys are often taught that they don't have to shower, but then girls are always made to feel like they're inherently dirty. But there's a lot I can say about that. So, what else was it? I'm trying to think if there was something else I wrote. Going back to the health thing, I guess, because I completely forgot about this, I think. I know I've mentioned the naturopath thing and how, like, I already feel weird because I already really don't have money for it. I have to continue to hide the homelessness. I have to also find transportation there, although that place I can kind of walk to, although the thing is that it's way too high. And the bus is a little too unpredictable, but if I could get on the bus, like, I could get closer to be able to walk there. And I remember where it's at now. But for the place I have to go to Tuesday, the FMP that she refers to, because she can't really, like, order blood work or anything. There's a lot of stuff with that due to, like, laws here. So the FMP that she refers to, the bus doesn't go there, so I have to, like, get a ride there. But it's not far in a car from, like, the downtown area, funny enough. So I have money for that, for, like, a ride. But it was something else. Oh yes, like I don't really know if it's worth it. It's like she wants to order this blood work and even try to, like, maybe give me a SIBO test, but it's like I'm not even sure. As I said, I'm not sure if I still have SIBO or H. pylori, which I may have mentioned in my video titled intravenous vitamins and minerals. So I don't want to go into that too much, but I just can't. I'm dissociating so much right now. I just can't. I'm like, pretty much it's like I just cannot try to scrape up money out the woodwork for somebody who already just tries to, like, chop up all my issues to just be in trauma. I feel like if anything I should probably just cut all of that, including the FMP referral, and just use the money from intravenous vitamin and mineral therapy, which I kind of regret ever spending the little savings I did have of scraping up money to go to that first naturopath appointment. I feel like it's kind of my fault. But it's kind of like it's hard to not seem like you're in a traumatic neglect situation when you're young and you're already, like, you've been sick all this long time. Most of your issues come from, like, obvious, like, neglect stuff, abuse type stuff. I'm trying to think about what else I can, like, summarize it as. Like, pretty much like somebody will think, well, if you've been malnourished all this time and you have this and that, why aren't your parents fighting to get, like, treatment, and why didn't they do this then? Did they bring you to the appointment? Are they going to pay for your appointment? And then when that's not the reality, or you can't fake that that's the reality, that being, like, having parents or whatever, then it's just obvious that, like, nobody really gives a crap about you. And that alone is traumatic, and then it makes everything seem psychosomatic. And so, what was something else with that? But yes, like, I think it's kind of pointless because I already know that, like, the blood work that I need isn't covered by insurance. I would have to do the whole, something similar to, like, the Walk-In Labs Quest, route to, like, get around the loopholes for ordering blood work. But I don't have money for that anyway, so it's kind of like, should I even keep going to these appointments for something I know I can't pay for, to get some of the same blood work I got before, for them to check to see, like, if my levels are still low, which I'm sure they'd probably be lower. Like, I mean, crap, even the whole alkaline phosphatase thing, and looking at medical records and seeing how that's just dropped since 7, and it was already kind of low, and then it was, my alkaline phosphatase was 24 in 2024. And it's actually really interesting because I remember before I started using AI, I couldn't figure out what alkaline phosphatase actually meant when it was low. Like, when you, like, look on YouTube or Google, it just would say it would just talk about elevated liver enzymes. It never talked about low liver enzymes, and that's what helped me figure that out. But anyhow, it's like I know what I really need, and I don't think I should try to waste money that I don't have to waste anyways. For like, how do I even put it? Like, I can't continue the appointments anyways if I can't pay, and if I can't pay for the blood work. Even if insurance did cover the SIBO test, I'd be really shocked if I even still had SIBO with all the cleanses and the Ivor and all the stuff that I've done since 2023. I mean, I probably do, especially because I still have messed up gut motility. And it's like, even with intravenous vitamins and minerals, I mean, it could help with a lot of stuff, but I'm not really sure, like, I mean, all the structural issues that I'm sure I would have from the anticholinergic side effects and having bowel impactions from the neurotransmitters that make my bowels and intestines work being turned off at a 12 to 14 or so. The structural damage from having food poisoning, H. pylori, and SIBO for years, and then just like the leftover issues, just like from the brain damage and nerve damage, especially, and any leftover dysautonomia that I may have. And even if I don't have any leftover dysautonomia, after like intravenous vitamin and mineral care, it's like still I know for a fact I definitely have structural damage. I don't have a way of really knowing if I have Crohn's or colitis or some other form of IBD, because I can't get an endoscopy or a colonoscopy, which I really do need. But it's like I would pretty much, like, let's say I do still have SIBO and she gives me whatever treatment thing, it probably wouldn't work and it wouldn't wipe it out anyways, because if I do still have it, it's definitely treatment resistant. But I feel like if she's going to test me for SIBO, I would need to get tested for H. pylori, or I might as well. But then it's also like, if my motility still isn't working, I'm just going to get it again, even if I don't have it, or even if like she did cure it, but I can't afford any of that. So it's kind of like, it's kind of pointless, because like I could do a one-time payment to get the intravenous vitamin and mineral care, which is what I really need anyways, or I can keep paying her when I can't keep paying her anyhow. And that's why it's like, I don't know. And then I have to get a C-peptide and a couple other tests again that I already had before that are low, because she wanted to test them again to see where they're at now. And it's like, I know for a fact they haven't gotten any better. My leptin level is probably lower and or the same, because I haven't gained any weight. I've been like 80 pounds pretty much since 14, or it's been like going from 80 to 94 pretty much up and down since 14. So it's kind of like, I think maybe it's my people pleasing from the CPTSD that's making me not want to just call and say, yeah, I don't have the money for this, or I just want to make a reason to cancel the treatment. But I did find a place that I want to go to. I did see that like all the places near me have the Myers, what's it called? IV therapy, whatever it's called, blend. I forgot what else in that. I think B complexes. So that's what I'm thinking right now. And like I said, I feel like even if I did have IBD, which I'm pretty sure I definitely do, I'm also pretty sure I have diverticulitis as well from like the bowel infections and stuff I used to have, and that would explain a lot. But it's like, even if I did, if I could get a high enough dose of intravenous vitamin D and maybe even C, it would probably cure that anyways. And I feel like if I've been holding on to life from a blade of grass for all this long, then getting the vitamin therapy that I need, I should get better, since I've been surviving on a miracle, prayer, and faith and hopes and dreams for however long it's been. And then lastly, a list of brain issue causes. That's a really confusing title. So, things that would cause like different neurological issues that I have. So this would include the dysautonomia, which can go into word finding difficulties, um, stuttering that started a few years ago. Sometimes worse than speech problems, which can go to the blood sugar as well, or something else. Misplaced words. So, number one would of course be the iatrogenic brain damage. Then liver glycogen storage issues, endotoxin, mycotoxin, off-gassing, and gut from like bacterial overgrowth, even parasites, and also SIFO, I guess. Bloodstream. Oh, off-gassing into the gut, bloodstream, etc. from indigestion and overgrowth. Depleted vitamins and minerals from digestion issues and liver storage issues. I can also just say malnutrition in general. Hypoglycemia and even hyperglycemia. Although hyperglycemia actually typically improves a lot of my symptoms, and I know that this is definitely due to the fact that I'm functioning on low, and I just my body can't really make or get energy from food. And that's definitely why, while I still have like the symptoms of hyperglycemia sometimes, I typically actually feel better and can function better. And my digestion and even bladder pain sometimes feels better when my blood sugar is actually higher than it's supposed to be every once in a blue moon. So like no frequent urination, sometimes no blurry vision, but it can also cause it, especially if I eat something like noodles. Poor blood circulation to the brain, so like blood pooling in the gut during digestion, which can also go into the postprandial hypertension and stuff like that, and wherever else while running, walking, or sitting, which also goes into the dysautonomia. And then I'll put something in the description about the whole thing with essay and what did I write? Essay and favorability. Like people who have parents who are homeless with law enforcement. Street kids aren't seen as kids. Until someone says they're a parent. Oh yeah, I did want to make a video about how like in a lot of situations pretending, if you can at least get somebody to fake being like a parent or guardian, it can like change a lot of things. Notice this with sex preds and their cop friends. Everyone is getting R-worded and M-worded by the same guys, also behind the same women. And I know I was going to talk about how, like that girl said, her parents would do something. So if she didn't like say anything to them about the guys, they could point them out or whatever. If they got locked up, a lot of people would stop being harmed. And so there's that. And then I also think about the Oreo frappe situation as a side note, because I re-uploaded the video where I almost got arrested, and I think that was 2023 behind the Oreo frappe when I was in California, and how I had to get this lady to, I didn't really want to say that she was like my parent, because one, she's too young for that, so it'd be obvious that it was like not true, and it would cause too many issues and give her like, it would make them feel like she has too much responsibility. So I just said sister. And I shouldn't have had to do that anyways. I shouldn't have had to make up an excuse for why I was outside, like people don't go outside. But it made me think about how, like, once the police left me alone and backed off after that, it goes into how if you can at least get somebody to pretend to be like a family member or some type of guardian or something close to it, it can like open doors and stop people from harming you when they shouldn't be in the first place, and trying to do things like lock you up when they shouldn't in the first place. Even going back to me getting locked up those couple the other month and having to like get somebody to pretend to at least be my sister again to get out of that situation, which is kind of a long story.